Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, I wanted to share just a really quick memory with you about the importance of connecting, and one that I actually sort of brought up this past week for myself. I'm actually working on my next book, titled to be released soon. But I was going through and I was thinking about all these people that you come in contact in life, and how the connecting process, often people think, this is something that you're going to want to pay attention to because you want to build that personal or professional network. That's what the ripple is all about. And it's true, for those that have staying power in your life, you do want to invest and continue to invest in those relationships. But I also was reminded that sometimes people just get plopped in your path at very precise moments for very precise things. And I was thinking about this situation where I was speaking at an HR conference many years back, and I was invited to participate in this conference. And when I looked at the lineup of speakers, I was like, man, I do not belong here. I was still very inexperienced. I was very unsure of my ability to captivate and motivate and inspire an audience. And it wasn't helped by the fact that I got to prior to my session, I got there to see the speaker before me, just to watch in awe of how he captivated everybody. I mean, this guy was what I call a cool kid, the rock star. And I was like, oh my God, how do I have to follow this guy? And my session was not as promoted as heavily as some of the other ones because I was a lesser known individual. So I expected that. But when I got up to take the stage, he had exited stage left, if you were, and there was a line of people coming up to talk to him and have his book signed. And basically he drafted off what I thought was going to be my audience. Most of them went and got in line for his, to have that conversation or have that book signed. And I tried not to let that bother me. But I looked out at the people that were there, and I started my conversation with them. And I decided, I had prepared notes, and I decided, you know what? Throwing caution to the wind. And I walked out from behind the podium, no notes in hand, no monitors, nothing. And I said, one of the important things that you can do as an HR professional is get out from behind the desk. Go have a conversation with your people, whether it's somebody that's a new hire that's trying to find their way through and navigate the relationships with the new team, or whether it's people that have been there a long time and, figuring out how to continue to add and build value within that culture. And I mentioned to this audience that I was shy and introverted, and that I have to kick myself in the hindquarters every single day to go out there and engage with people. And it's not easy. It's not simple. And when I wrote this book way back when, first edition, I was thinking that my audience was really built around the shy, introverted folks like me, right? Those people that were not people, not commonly comfortable with networking, etc. So I felt like the people that kind of stayed were the people that didn't have the confidence to go stand in line for the other guy who was drafting off my audience, right? So I'm talking to them like they're my people and they're my tribe. And I started talking to them about how important it was that even in that situation where you might find yourself struggling to have good opportunities to have conversations with your people, you still needed to do it. And the more you did it, the better you got, and the more important it was, and the more value you got personally from it. And as people started to filter back in, and I really found my footing. My presentation, I felt, went really good. But unlike my predecessor, I didn't have a line of people come up to meet me. I may have had 4 or 5 individuals that kind of, caught me as I came off stage and asked for a copy of, my book and, a signature on it, and wanted to talk to me about how my presentation had meant something to them. But in the grand scheme of things, I kind of felt like a failure, right? Compared to this guy who had hundreds of people, or, maybe, far more than I did. I wasn't feeling super good, but I was okay. I decided, that afternoon I was going to go to the hotel bar and I was going to hang out there, and I got a tap on my shoulder, and it was Mr. Cool. This guy would apparently intentionally sought me out. He asked if he could sit down, ordered a drink, and said, I get the impression that you don't feel like your message has power. So I thought, here it was, one of these great, well-known speakers was going to take this young kid and tell him all the things that he did wrong. He said, I got to be honest with you. Your message spoke to everyone who was smart enough to listen. And You mentioned introverts and you mentioned extroverts and how it was so much easier for the extroverts. And I gathered from that message, that presentation, that you sort of think that your market potentially is a little smaller. And he said, let me tell you something. I'm a speaker. I'm an attention whore. I like the spotlight. I like people to want to hear what I say and, covet my knowledge. But at the end of the day, I'm probably one of the most lonely individuals ever because I'm not good at building authentic relationships. I'm divorced twice. My kids barely know who I am, and I'm on the road all the time. And I want you to know that the message that you shared for those introverts in the audience, there are a whole lot of extroverts who look like they have it all figured out, but they are far from it. And that your message made a difference. And it did to him. And I won't go into all the detail, but it was a pretty amazing back and forth dialogue. Here I was thinking he was going to sort of chide me for what I didn't do right as a professional speaker, and instead told me how much paying attention, even while he was writing and trying to sign books, he was paying attention to the message that was coming from the front of the stage. And I was so overwhelmed by that. And it made me think about how some of these people, and I never saw that guy again, have never talked to him again, but I don't think I was intended to. That was something that had to happen at that moment in my career at that exact time because it was so important. And it was a great reminder that my audience is a lot wider than I ever gave it credit for. And you never know who's listening. And he plopped into my spot in my life at that moment to remind me of that. And as I was writing on this new book, I was reminded of that time, and it immediately took me back, and I had this ultimate sense of gratitude because he didn't have to seek me out. He didn't have to share what he shared, and he didn't have to point out that I needed to pull my own head out of my cabeza out of my backside to realize that I shouldn't prejudge myself and I should just do me. Go out there because the right people will arrive and will hear the message that needs to be heard when it needs to be heard. And so that was a ripple that has continued to carry me forward for all these years. And I felt like it was something to share with you. So even though I tell you that you got to build authentic relationships and the ripple is the key to doing it, sometimes those relationships are short-lived, but they're just as powerful. Until next time, my friends, ripple on.